Daniel started Goodpops, a frozen treat company, back in 2009 when he was a student at the University of Texas. He was on this quest to find this traditional Mexican-style frozen fruit bar, but all he found were artificial flavorings and colorings, the opposite of what he was looking for. So he dug in, started at the farmer's market, and since then, Goodpops has been delivering clean, mouth-watering frozen treats. With 3 boys, we can't get enough of them in the house. Hope you enjoy this week's episode of Kicking It with Kristy. So I'm going to transition into this quote, and it's not really a quote. It was a title that I kind of came across when I was researching. Mm-hmm. And it said, millennials drive growth of frozen foods category sparked by interest in premium challenger brands. And clearly, no one was referenced in this title of the article, which was kind of ironic. But you guys are obviously Goodpops is the premium challenger brand. And I think the frozen, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think the frozen foods category size is about 60 billion. And the frozen desserts make up like half that. So I want to say it's like 30-ish billion. Is that right?
That sounds right. I mean, we keep a very close eye on the frozen novelty category within frozen desserts. It's like 6 billion currently. So frozen novelties is anything that's consumed like single serve, on a stick, in a cone, on a bar. It doesn't encompass ice cream. So it's frozen desserts, and then underneath that would be ice cream. Frozen novelties being a super, super narrow subcategory of frozen desserts.
That's super cool. I didn't know that. But I love the subcategory of that. And that 6 billion is still massive. So I dug into the history of popsicles because I was really curious about this. And I'm assuming you know it, and you're probably a better storyteller than I am. So I'm going to let you tell it. And then I have questions. So it's kind of fascinating.
It is. So I invented popsicles in 2009. And I was just, outside, and it was a cold day. And this thing froze, and I accidentally put a stick in there. And anyway.
That's good.
So popsicles themselves date back to, there's like this folklore of a young kid. I think his name was Charlie, or Timmy.
I think it was Frank.
Frank.
Hold on. I will do fact checking while you tell the story. I'm just going to pull it up.
Fact check everything I say.
It's Frank. Yeah. It's Frank in 1905.
Frank Epperson, right?
Yes.
Was he? And how old was he? Was he like 7?
He was 11.
11. Yeah. See, the thing is, I think it might be a made up story that popsicle brand came up with. It might be, but either way, that's.
I don't think it is. I'm just going to let you know that I think it's like fact based.
Okay, I need more sources than popsicle.com.
It's not on popsicle.com. But keep going, because you're gonna tell a story, and then I'm gonna intercept with facts. Go.
Okay. All right. So going back to, there was Frank Epperson, who was 7 to 11 years old, and he accidentally froze something and came out. I think was it pop? Was it like a soda?
Yeah, pop? It was actual sugary soda powder with water left outside overnight. Yeah.
Exactly.
On a cold night in San Francisco, so then this gets a little tricky then.
Yeah, San Francisco. Does it get that cold?
That's a hard sell.
I thought it was St. Louis.
Okay, the St. Louis would sound better, but this came from the Bay Area in San Francisco. And now that you're saying that doesn't actually add up. Because does San Francisco really get that cold at night? Probably not.
No, that's exactly.
Okay, keep going.
Fact check.
Keep going.
Well, so I had to do a little research on ice cream and frozen desserts. Like pretty recently, I did a ice cream 101 making class for one of our customers, and so I had to learn a little bit about the history of ice cream. And it's if you look at the history of ice cream rather than popsicles, it's also kind of like folklore-y, kind of hearsay type stuff. There's nothing that's like super concrete, but it does date back before, like in BC. I think it was the 2nd century, and there were ancient Chinese manuscripts that tell us that a frozen product was enjoyed mixing juices
Hmm.
with snow, like
Hmm.
fruits with snow.
Okay.
And then there was kind of like a gap. And then there, in a totally other part of the world, Alexander the Great, I think he was also enjoying snow and ice flavored with like honey and nectar and other sweet things. Um, there's also reference to King Solomon doing uh, similar things. So I think before there was like actual manufacturing processes for ice cream, before there were mechanical freezers that could keep things cold. The common theme is that everybody was just making stuff outside. So even Frank Epperson, young Frank in 1905, 11 years old,
In San Francisco.
in San Francisco. Yeah. And then I think where things took a turn, where it kind of jumped to like somewhat of modern history, Marco Polo on his travels brought back a recipe. And then from there, that's kind of where this Italian sort of sherbet gelato culture came about. So he brought it back.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I didn't get that far. I only got
Oh,
to where Epperson called them epsicles in
mm-hmm.
1923, and then his children wanted to name them popsicles, and then he tried to get a patent.
Yeah.
He got the patent, and then someone took it. So anyway, in
Yeah.
2009,
Yeah. Oh, one other thing that was really interesting
yeah,
is that George Washington, so he ate a lot of ice cream.
huh?
Yeah, he ate. I don't know. You might want to fact check this. Also, could be making this up, but
We'll
I
roll with
think,
it.
and he would have definitely eaten Good Pops if they were around, or if he was still around. Also, but
I'm sure.
no, he ate a lot of ice cream, and so I think he might have sparked ice cream culture in the United States to an extent.
That's really. I wish we could like
You can
fact
definitely
check
do it. We can pause
no, it's so good. I like it. That's a great story. That's a good children's book. George
yeah,
Washington and ice cream. You should do that in your
yeah,
free time. So
yes, we
question,
need
because
that.
I feel like you're talking a lot about the natural aspects of ice cream or popsicles, fruit and snow and honey and nectar, and um, what kind of stands out for me is like, well, really the question around it's a 60, well, actually, it's really a $32 billion dessert category, and then it's a subset of that, it's $6 billion, right? And
Yeah,
I'm assuming most of the 6 billion is coming from these massive CPG conglomerates with artificial colors and artificial flavors and natural colors, and like a massive amount of sugar, like that you're just
yeah,
giving to your kids and saying go and enjoy like this diabetes bomb.
yeah,
And so the question that I have really for you is like, let's talk about this. Like,
yeah.
why did you start,
Why?
and exactly, like, why are they
Oh,
doing this? Like, what's
but
their
no, why is this
choices?
right? No, why is this still permissible? I mean, it's the for some reason the popsicles category has definitely been the last of these sort of like indulgent type dessert type categories to get cleaned up. Like there was sugar free soda back in the 70s and 80s. There were kind of diet or cleaner, you know, no sugar added versions of a lot of different things like candies, confectionery, beverage. And for some reason, with ice cream, up until relatively recently, it was just something that had not been touched. Like the formulations had been so, and it's kind of like ice cream. It's been historically kind of, it's a dairy product. There's not a lot of innovation happening there. The science behind it is all centered around dairy. So the manufacturers of ice cream are typically dairies when you go back. So there was no incentive for them to really try to clean up. And also, as a consumer, if you were giving a pop or some ice cream to your kids, it was a treat. It was to break. It wasn't like an everyday thing. It was just like a treat. It was maybe to get them to stop crying or as an
Totally.
incentive. You know, so for one reason or another, the formulas for ice cream, well, specifically popsicles, have been sugar and water since 1905. Poor little Frank, you know,
Yeah.
his formula stood the test of time for probably 100 years. Now, and you talking about challenger brands, we this kind of better for you, um, this better for you movement across natural food over the last like 20, 30 years. um, every category has started to get cleaned up, and it's a great thing that there are better options than just sugar and water on a stick for children. And that's, yeah.
Well, let's dive in there because there was a
Yeah.
summer back in 2009 and you were looking for something better and there was nothing, right? And what kind of was that defining moment of, okay, well, there is nothing. Usually people are like, okay, there's nothing. And then they just, find something else.
Yeah.
You did not do that.
No, I mean, so I summer going into my senior year, college, I went to Mexico City during the summer. It was super hot, and they have these paletas on the street that are just like locally grown fruit, just blended and on a stick, and it's delicious. It was like the greatest thing ever. And I was having like 2 or 3 a day while I was there, and it was incredible. And got back to the States, and it just wasn't anything like it. There wasn't anything frozen that was fresh, that was made with locally grown, real ingredients. It was all just kind of like whatever you could find. Just if there were fruit bars, it wouldn't even register as a fruit bar. Like after that, and during that time, I was in school and really fascinated and loved social enterprise that was sort of coming up at that time. So like entrepreneurs and companies and brands thinking about social enterprise in a different way. Like Tom's, like One for One. And that model where you can use your product as a way to have an immediate impact and do something good was just incredible. And like it seemed really rewarding and exciting. And then also a pop is something that makes people happy. So kind of those three things combined. And for some reason I started working on this in class, writing a business plan.
Like while you were
designing.
supposed to be doing other things, or
I was
like
sitting in
as a
class. No, yeah, I was supposed to be doing
other things?
something. I was supposed to be graduating. I should have been done a long time before, probably a year before. And I had 6 classes left, and in one of those 6 hours left, and in one of those classes, I was just sitting there designing a fictitious popsicle brand logo, just for fun. And then one thing led to another, and a couple months later, I really loved the idea, and decided to just. I knew that I wasn't going into advertising.
What were you studying at school? Was it a marketing, advertising?
I was in this advertising program, and so at University of Texas, and it was a really rigorous program. It was almost like rigorous to just make it rigorous, to just weed people out. And I'm sure like programs like that where but a lot of times they're for a good reason, like people that are going to become doctors.
Mm-hmm.
This was for people to learn how to sell stuff, like advertising. And I knew that I wasn't going into the industry, that I wasn't going to be rewarded by just doing that, or feel rewarded by doing that. But I was falling in love with this notion of what makes people fall in love with brands and how that's evolving. at that time, and it still is. I mean, what made people fall in love with brands and products is totally different in 2009 from how it is today.
Hmm. No, absolutely. So what did it look like then? So you're sitting at class, you're designing this logo, you graduate, presumably, or you don't graduate. You don't graduate. Even better. Um, so you leave to go start Good Pops. I'm making this up.
Yeah,
I'm assuming that's right.
kind of. Yeah. So I always I had jobs from when I was, probably 14 on, but I also had like my little company. So like when I was a kid, I had like the Lawn Rangers, and it was me and my friends, and we were pushing our lawnmowers around the neighborhood and mowing people's yards for like $15 or whatever they wanted. We would just go to the
That's
yards that had
awesome.
the tall grass,
Totally.
and then so we did all sorts of things. And with that, I ended up saving like $8,000 and went to. I did one thing, and I went to Europe with a good friend of mine, but came back with a little bit left over, and I used that. So essentially, life savings, and put it into trying to figure out Goodpop. And so we started making them, basically designing very simple recipes, like paleta inspired recipes, designing the packaging at night in Photoshop, because that's what I was in school for, um, and came up with some recipes that were delicious, that made sense, and like, okay, and then put some stickers on the bag, and it's like, oh, now I have a brand, a pop company. Um, and the big idea was that we were going to go out and sell. We were going to drain the rest of the savings and make 18,000 pops and go sell them at a music festival in Austin. And we made 18,000 pops. It took 3 weeks, and we go out to that music festival at ACL, and it rained all weekend. It poured, and we sold 4 pops, and it was like I thought that was what was going to kickstart this business.
Yeah.
And so after that, I went back to school, kind of dejected, and went back and started working towards finishing. But that was kind of, I think, that massive failure at the beginning was, and you and I have been doing this for so long, where every day has something like this happen now,
Totally. Every
right?
day. You just have to,
But
I feel like we're wiser now, whereas before, at least for me, you ride every high so high and every low so
yeah,
low, and it is really hard to regulate yourself like
oh
throughout
yeah,
the years. Really, I would say
yeah.
throughout the week, but it's really throughout the years until
But at what point did you start to like that process, or do you like that process now of like solving those big problems, um, putting the pieces together, finding ways out, finding solutions? Like, do you like that now, or are you still like, this is?
so you know what, I think this is a, and I want to go into this, so might as well go into it now. I think it's a difference of founders and entrepreneurs who start a business by bootstrapping all the way through with no capital, right? And get to profitability pretty quickly, versus the ones who put their savings in. Clearly, like you and I, right? I mean, we together, my husband and I had $25,000 of savings that we had been saving up for, since we were like 12. Same thing.
Yeah,
And dumping it in, and then realizing really fast that we were selling a product for less money than we were making it, right? So then, then you need investors, and you're like, shit, like what did we get ourselves into, right? So there's that. I think outside of that, if we were maintaining and we were bootstrapping and we didn't have all of these shareholders and all of these investors who had just put so much money into the business, like I think it'd be really different. But to kind of tie that into a bow really fast is, I actually thrived, and my husband used to say this all the time. Like, when shit hit the fan, I would be like, okay, this is like we got this. Like, I'm excited to solve something. I'm excited to learn. I'm excited to try and, like, convince these partners to do X, Y, and Z. But after like 12 years of trying to solve, trying to learn, when you're not profitable, it can be a real huge issue, right? Because you run out of cash much faster. You have to fundraise all the time. Um,
Yeah.
that's the piece that I really didn't like, but I actually loved the solving and the creating and the learning. So I'm curious on, because you did not have that story. I mean, we had like stories, but you had a different model of what running your business looked like than I did.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's the reason I asked about that moment because it's just that's what got me really that moment where we just like had to find a way,
Mm-hmm.
and then it was just so that's where that started, and I hated it. I was 22, 23, and but at the same time it was so hard, and so the challenges were so they felt like they're so insurmountable every day, like just like okay now okay so I've solved this, but then there's still all of these other things. Okay, well I'll get to that later because I have to get this most urgent thing solved,
Totally. You
and
solve
then I'll get to
something
that.
and you feel like you've just made it, and then you get a call or an email, and you're like, fuck.
Yes.
It's like never
Oh no,
ending. Yeah.
it's never ending. But I think one thing that I realize is like yes, you have to be ready to solve problems and not get frazzled by the act of doing it. I mean, you
Yeah.
have to be ready at any time and not get emotional about your problem solving, but find a way, and
Totally.
because that's regardless of if you've raised $0 or, $100 million, you're going to have, you're going to have problems all the time.
All
And
the
it's going
all the
to take a
time.
clear, yeah, you have to take, it takes a clear level head to get out of it. Like you were saying, like, all right, here's what we're going to do.
Yeah.
And then you go out and you do it.
Totally. Oh, well, I
Have fun.
actually, there's diving into that a little bit more, because recently my husband, I think you know this, but he has a company too called Sunday, and he's running 100 people, and it's a way, much different. It's a tech CPG company, so it's definitely a different model. But we always talk about this is a clear mental game that we're playing, and you don't
Mm-hmm.
realize that going in, like when you're 22. Like, we started this when we were 30, and Quinn was just born, and um you're like, as is, like, you're kind of drowning with as a founder, and learning all this stuff that's very new to you, right? Because it's not like we had classically trained experiences like you or I. So you're going into this with, like, eyes wide open, but at the same time you're like blind, because you don't know what's ahead of you. And I think there's goodness behind that, because it's almost better that we didn't know, like, what we were getting ourselves into. um but also, it's there's a lot of emotion that you have to ride day in and day out, and keep people motivated around you to be level headed.
Yeah.
It's exhausting. um
No, that's exactly it.
so there
Keep
is.
keeping keeping every keeping everything like it doesn't matter if you have like one employee or zero, but you're still dealing with suppliers or vendors, even if
Mhm.
you're a tiny tiny company. It's just you. It's bringing like really high, um, super anxious energy into those spaces doesn't it doesn't help your situation, and so it's taking that emotion out and and then trying to be and trying to lead, and if you have a small team of a few people, trying to lead in a composed way, in a non-anxious way will help, even if the team knows what you're dealing with and how insurmountable things might be. Like, just being calm and finding a way is so much better than somebody just coming in with all this anxiety and so tight. Like, it's almost better to take a breath, figure it out, and then come back.
Totally. Is this something that you have learned over time, or was this like is this how you were able to run over the last 13 years? Because this is something that I had to learn over the years, right? I think
Yeah, I mean,
there were pivot points there for me, but what did it look
yeah,
like for you?
no, the same as you. I mean, you and except I didn't have, I didn't just have a child when I was starting, and so it's so different because you guys, I mean, that was make or break, and you've got this family, so I can see a much stronger, you know, desire and need to make this work because you have this family. So like that is a different thing. For me, I was just fighting internally, intrinsically, to
Mm-hmm.
trying to prove to myself that I could find a way that I could solve it. That and it's been my own journey, but the common denominator between everything over the last 13 years is just trying to learn from my mistakes, do it and not make the same mistake twice, and just keep doing better and keep learning, and try to be a quick study. And so when I realized that, yeah, me freaking out in front of my staff, my team, um, isn't helping anything. It's like, okay, I should probably not do that anymore.
Yeah,
It's not helping.
it's not helping. You want to sympathize with their emotion through this, right? Because they're in a startup too, right? And they might not be the
Yeah.
founder, but they're in it just with you. And so you're trying to validate their feelings. Yeah, this sucks. Like this is like a disaster. But at the same
Mm,
time, you're like, no, 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 we've got this. Like we can do it. There is a way forward. Um, but
yes.
it does get it's really, I mean, I have read so many self-help books and listened to so many podcasts during many years of like
Mm,
despair because you know that holy shit, this is really not good. But at the same time, you still have to show up every day and lead like it was nothing, right?
yeah.
But it's hard, and I go back to again saying like it's all a mental game. We play as founders, we play a mental game, and the quicker you can learn that, the better off you will be. I learned that like
Yeah.
8 years in, I think.
Yeah.
I didn't learn it that
Well,
fast.
yeah. No, I mean, I haven't read any self help books, but I wish I would have.
I have a list for you if you
Great.
want them.
Perfect.
I think you
But that,
passed most of this, but you never know. Like,
no, it's this thing is, but yeah, the thing is that if anyone's watching this and I mean, there's nothing. This is a mental game, like you're saying, and you deal with the way you deal with uh, stress, anxiety, um, problems is through community, and whether community is picking up a book and um, getting the advice from there, or like you were saying about a founder, or something like this, but something like this, a founder roundtable, a friend you can call who's gone through it. Like community is the only way.
it's the only way. I
I
would be
think.
dead in the water if I didn't have like a group of people. And I'm honestly surprised that, and we talked about this the last time when we were on that Whole Foods panel when we first really were introduced. But I have been buying your product since Quinn was like the first time I saw it in our Whole Foods. I don't even know where I saw it, but um, and then you kept evolving. We did like the orange popsicles. So how do you pronounce, what are they called again?
Yeah, the orange and cream.
Yes, the orange and cream. And it's funny because when as a mom, like my kids don't like the orange and cream ones, but I love them. And so I buy like the big bulk pack at Costco, bring them home, and when they were little, they loved them. And then they outgrow that taste profile, right?
Mm.
So then we had like the strawberry shortcake cheesecake or whatever you call it. And then we always get the old school ones and the I love how like I'm doing
The,
this and I can't remember any of the names.
no, yeah, the freezer pop.
Yeah, the freezer pops, the ones that I love. And so it's interesting. You have a solution for every age range, I guess is what I'm saying. And it's awesome because as a a better for you type of consumer, there really literally is not nothing available to you except for Good Pops in this way. And so the fact that you started this company at 22 and you have you've done this without, external capital is incredible, Daniel. Seriously, it's incredible. So you should be
Thank
really, really proud of that. But what has worked and what hasn't worked, and really, I mean, there's so many brands coming out that are relying on capital, right? And so, what are some of the takeaways that you learned from bootstrapping this and not taking in external financing?
I mean, being very, very targeted in everything you do. So that's critical. I mean, otherwise you're gonna you're gonna spend all of your money trying to find which products work, which customers work. If you know that, if you know your funds are limited, it's okay to wait. It's okay to say no to the wrong retailers, the wrong opportunities. It has to be profitable. And so um, starting out with um, retailers that want your product at a price where you're not going to be profitable to be able to run the business is always the first mistake.
Mm-hmm.
Just from a standpoint of like, hey, I'll fix this later. It just compounds,
You
and
can't fix it. Yeah.
it's almost impossible to fix it, and you're gonna burn bridges with these retailers. And so just it's okay to be, I mean, yes, hustle as hard as you can, try to make things happen, but it's okay to be methodical. It's okay to say no to something that's not going to be the right opportunity, because you have to turn a profit.
Mm-hmm.
Have to.
Did you have a good, because I know, and I won't get into this. I'll get into this later afterwards with you, I'm sure at some point. But for us, it was like, if we solve this, then we know that there's a path to profitability, and that all stems back to whether you're self-manufacturing or you're manufacturing with a co-man. Are you guys manufacturing with a co-man, and have you had a really good relationship with them from day one, or how has that evolved? Because sometimes you for us, like, we had this idea and we knew that if we didn't go forward with it, even selling it at a lower cost than what we were making it for, which was like clearly the worst decision ever, then we knew that we weren't going to be able to sell the product. So it's interesting, because I mean, that we could talk about that topic for like 5 hours, but I'm curious on your path from finding the right manufacturer, finding the right price point, that you were profitable really early. So dive in there.
Yeah. So, like we talked about earlier, I was an advertising student, and so I was really, the only thing I knew was that side of things. So I knew how to design a package. I knew how to, write copy and do different things like that, design a website. I didn't know anything about manufacturing. And over the course of the last 13 years, I've probably spent 90% of my time just dealing with operations and manufacturing, and it's been out of necessity. So really digging your heels in early, understanding the process from start to finish. It's not about making a turnkey product, just finding a manufacturer that can make you a product and being blind to everything that goes into making that product, all of the raw materials, the quality, all of that stuff I've had to become an expert in, because that's the foundation, fully the foundation, understanding start to finish. So we've had long-term co-packing relationships. We've operated on basically every type of model. We've brought equipment in and co-invested in equipment that's specific to running Goodpop. We've designed our own cold brew method. We've designed our own tea brewing methods, and all of those things is just out of necessity. And if you want to maintain your quality, like, you have to become an expert in all aspects of it.
Mm-hmm.
If you're creating and selling a food product, you need to understand the raw materials, the crop cycles, where things are grown, the differences between the varietals in different parts of the world. You need to understand the weather patterns in different parts of the world. And you would never think that as somebody who's just, if you're in finance or if you're in advertising, that you would need to know all of those things, but you do.
They all
If
matter.
you're
I always say the devil's in the details. Like every single time you make a mistake or something happens, like it's always in the things that you didn't ask. It's always in those little details that really matter. So you're 100% right.
Yeah.
It always
So,
matters.
but I guess the original question was about profitability, and I really think that it starts from rather and around profitability and co-packing. It still starts from understanding every aspect of what goes into the product. That way, you can better negotiate with your co-packer or your manufacturer. Understanding production efficiencies, being in the plant and seeing where they can become more efficient, because if you can help your manufacturer become more efficient on running your products, then that's a cost savings to your company. So if you can find a way to make them with the same amount of labor, make 25% more product, then you're able to get those efficiencies passed on. And in our space, um, it's so competitive, and those are the details that matter, I think.
What motivates you to keep going after all this time? And um, tell us a little bit about your good pledge.
Yeah. So right now, so I'm in a place now. I haven't made money. I haven't sold my business, and I'm a rich person. I try to actually stay, like, I like where we are. Like, we've just been running this company, um, and for the last couple of years, I have felt so internally and intrinsically satisfied and content and happy, because I feel like, I mean, I did what I set out to do, which is prove to myself I could do something good with what we're building. And so now I'm like on bonus time, and I'm just having a great time. And it's not like I'm a rich person. Like, this is, and like, the reason I'm saying all these things is that so many entrepreneurs they are only motivated by the exit, and their self-worth is tied to the exit.
Mm-hmm.
And those are the types of people that, and anytime I meet someone like that, it's just, you've got to know that you've done it. Like, you've already done it. You've made something out of nothing. It's
Totally.
amazing. And people love what you've done. Um, and, it's made a lot of people happy. It's made a lot of families be able to become families and grow and buy homes. And um, so I already feel really good. So that's what keeps me going is, okay, now that I'm not, now that the product has been validated, the concept's been validated, the give back program, now it's just all trying to make it the best version of what it can be, and really have it. I don't know if it's going to outlast us. Like, I don't know if our companies will, but we want to make sure that it's in the best position to be something that we feel really, really good about when we get old.
They will. They absolutely will. Um, I have no doubt about that. And I love that you're running a real business. Like I would always joke that I'd go into a board meeting and I'm like, I feel like we're playing a Monopoly game. Like we're not sustainable. This is really hard.
Yeah.
Yet we're playing this game, and the idea is, like you said, like you're creating something from nothing and building it into something really special. That's massively rewarding. It
Yeah.
hurts me so much when I ask, a founder, why are you doing this, right? What's your goal? And their goal is like, well, to be acquired, of course. And I'm like, well, you're not gonna last with that mindset, because this is really hard, really, really hard. And so that's why I bring up the Good Pledge, because I think that our mission with us is, trying to do good for for human health, planet health, agriculture practices, trying to break those barriers down between organic and conventional. And that has
Yeah.
fueled me throughout this process. Like that's why I've kept going is knowing the change that will ultimately create. But there's your mission that's tied to this as well. And what are some of the organizations that you're champion with through your company?
Yeah. The so I think the short answer that I like rambled on about, like what keeps me going, is in general it's not about the product. It's always about something else that really gives you the purpose and behind what you're doing with your company. And so for some people, yes, it is to have the exit. That's their purpose.
Mm-hmm.
For us, it is what it is for us. But for me, it's been this idea of using our products as a vehicle to actually like do good, give back, um, and when I was a kid, my my mom used to have, instead of having like birthday parties like regular kids, my mom would make birthday parties for us that were community projects where she'd invite all of our friends out. There'd be no gifts, no candy, no ice cream, no nothing. We would plant trees, or we would go to like a retirement home and spend time with the elderly.
I love her.
Yeah.
That's
And so,
amazing.
and um, and so that as painful as that was to not have like the cool roller skating party, like that was my childhood. My grandfather was the same way, and I used to watch him do amazing things when he didn't. He was pretty sure no one was looking, and he never wanted recognition. So for me, that's in my DNA, and so the company is, that's the vehicle to do all of these great things. And we created this Pledge Good Foundation. The idea is that every quarter, well, that we've got our four pillars of things that are important to us as a company. And it's not just like things that are important to me, but like pulled everyone at Goodpop. And we came up with these four great pillars. The environment, so um, anything from regenerative agriculture, just all across sustainability, but making sure that we're nurturing a healthy environment, equity and inclusion, and where um, we look at things like not your typical like corporate equity and inclusion, but like trying to find um, work for refugees here in America, or trying to find access to equitable education for kids here in America. Um, and so these are the types of, and this is in helping animals find homes, and hunger. There's just so much, there's a lot of food insecurity in the States. So these are things that are important to everyone here. And the common bond between everybody that's here at Good Pop is that we all care about this stuff. And this is why we're here. This is why we're doing it. And we're all on the same page about it. And that's been the most special thing about where we are today.
It's really awesome. I completely resonate with that. It's not you're making a we always said this, like we're making a product, and yes, there's a company behind it. We're a CPG brand, but the idea is to do good with that brand. You're the same
Yeah.
concept. Like you're not getting up every day because you're excited about popsicles. You're getting up every day because you're excited about what you can do because of the popsicles.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah. And I love that you guys are doing the same thing. And I just, I, as far as regenerative agriculture, it's just something that has been becoming more and more prevalent over the last couple of years. And learning about that, it's like, okay, yeah, we have to chip in and do something about this. So I hope you don't mind. We're jumping in on the bandwagon, and we're
no,
going to do our little part. But it's so important,
it's so
and
important.
I love what you guys are doing.
No, thanks. And of course, I don't mind. The whole idea behind this was
Yes.
to really get everyone involved, and it's not just the big CPG players that are going to make a difference. It's all of us together combined as a team will have the biggest impact. So hit me up because we would if there's any kind of cross ingredients, we would love to share our resources with you and our ingredient suppliers, and We don't do anything with fruit, unfortunately, but we can talk about it.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna jump into questions on the fly.
Okay.
Okay, ready?
Yeah.
Podcast or books?
Oof. Option C.
Audiobooks?
No, podcasts or books. I suck. I don't do either.
What do you do?
I play sports. I am trying to learn Spanish, and I'm
Oh,
taking those classes. I do. I When I get specific podcasts um, from friends, I am always happy I did. Um, I have been getting into a lot more learning about the Enneagram and learning about
totally.
personalities and how people interact with each other.
It's fascinating,
Um,
right? Did you do the
so
disc assessment with your team yet?
we did an Enneagram workshop with our team when we
Okay.
all got together over the summer. It was so fun, and we all learned more about each other. Um, but it's something fun, and it keeps coming back up. Well, I'm this
Yeah.
type. Well, yeah, you know I'm this type,
You know your
and
triggers, so and you know the other
yeah,
person's triggers, so you need to be
yeah.
aware. Have you heard of the zone of genius? Have you read that yet?
No, I just need all of your stuff. You need to send me
I'll just
all your
send it to you.
podcasts, all your books, because I'm behind.
This one's fascinating. Good, but I actually haven't read it. I've just kind of skimmed it, and then I lost the book somewhere in the airport. But it was really, you're gonna love it. It's fascinating. Okay, driving or flying?
I like driving. Yeah, that's where all the ideas come
Yeah.
when you're driving or in the shower. Shower and driving. Those are ideas. Those are just idea
We used
places.
to joke in the office that we all needed a whiteboard in our shower because all the ideas
Yeah,
would come to us, and then we'd get out and go along our day and then forget. But they would
yeah.
come in the
But if you
shower.
put the but if you put the whiteboard in the shower, are the ideas still going to come, or does that negate the concept of the shower? Because
It
and we'll have to
it
test,
might
but
negate it because then you're so concerned if you're going to have an idea or not, right?
right.
That's the problem.
Every single, I think Goodpop is probably a shower idea. That's the news story. Actually, yeah, Frank Epperson, shower
Shower
in the bath.
is in
He
the
was in the
bath.
bath.
In the bath is better.
Yeah, good.
Caffeine or caffeine free?
I love coffee, and so I guess caffeine
Okay.
by default. But I really like it for the coffee. I think, but maybe people just say that because they need the caffeine. I don't know, but I really do love coffee.
Coffee is it's good. It's good.
Mm.
Um, run or power walk?
Power walk is. I think I'm always usually walking. I'm always walking quickly. I think. I'm always usually walking quickly, I think. That's the answer. Yeah.
I'm gonna go with
But
power
I'm
walk.
pretty sure I'm walking fast because my wife is always like way back there, and I don't know if she's just a stroller and I'm more of like a walker, or if I'm power walking and she's walking. But I might be power walking.
You're probably power walking. I'm power
Yeah.
walking, and
Yeah.
all my kids and my husband are strollers, and I'm like, we've got to
They're back
go. Like,
they're back there.
yeah,
Yeah.
they're back there. Okay, yoga or meditation?
Meditation. Yes. Except well, yeah, I think so yoga nidra is really amazing, and I've been doing that the last year and a half. Um, plus, and it's kind of, I guess, a blend of the two. But yoga nidra is really amazing, and it's just meditation, but it's called yoga. There's literally no stretching. You just lay there and you just start floating. It's great.
I'm gonna look that up when I get off this.
Yeah,
I need to do that.
I'll text you my favorite person on there.
T-
Like on it's yeah.
you need to text me. This morning I got into like the chakra like regulation. That's not the right term, but I was trying to like trying to figure out how to like zen myself before today. Didn't work very much for me. I want to get
No, you're
into
very
it
zen.
though.
No, you're super zen. Don't worry, you got it.
I'm trying. Okay, Netflix or Prime?
Mm, Netflix.
Spirit animal. What's your spirit animal?
Oh wow. There's so many, but I'm really impressed with squirrels, and so is my dog. She's right off screen right here, but she's looking for them right now. But squirrels, they're just so athletic, and they just do the craziest stuff. You'll see them fly out of a tree and like
Yeah.
land in a branch like nothing, like 50 feet up, and then they'll run across a wire. Nothing.
That's
So a
like
squirrel.
I've not heard that. That's it is so true
Yeah.
though. With the squirrel attacked our bird feeder, and I was on a
What?
conference call and watched the squirrel like
No, probably got
jump out of the tree onto this bird feeder and then jump into midair, and it was
and probably
the
got everything out
acrobatics
of
were
it.
incredible.
Yes. So can we go with that? I don't know what the negative side of being a squirrel would be, but
I'll look
the
it up. I'll
positive
send it to you later.
positives are you can do whatever you want. You
You
can
can.
run on the skinniest little whatever, like a fence, a wire, like literally anything. I think they're impressive.
It's okay. It's amazing. Okay,
Long answer.
Harry. No, I love it. Harry Potter or Lord of the Rings?
Lord of the Rings.
Okay. Operator
Just
or visionary? Do you want to explain the Lord of
oh
the
no no
Rings?
no 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 no.
Okay.
It's just
Operator.
well okay. It's because people tell me I look like Harry Potter, and it's really annoying. That's why.
Oh, yeah. You do. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, I think a better version, a better looking version of him. I mean, Radcliffe is probably your age, right? Or is he older?
He's he might be like a year younger. I'm 36. I don't know what
Okay.
he is, but I
I
think
think
we're
he's
about the same.
older. Anyway,
Mm,
I kind of see
yeah.
that. I feel like if that was your celebrity twin, that might be it.
Mm.
So
Okay, so
let's go with Lord of the
that
Rings.
question, yeah.
Okay.
Right?
Operator or visionary?
Opinary,
Yeah. Okay. That's a good one. Planet Earth or Mars?
Earth, like
Adve-
it.
yeah. Adventurer or hermit?
Wow.
And by the way, we identified, a friend and I who had a podcast earlier, you can be a hermit and be an adventurer.
Definitely.
There is a way. So if you fall into like that combo, which is what I fall into, I'm gonna give you that.
Wow. Okay. I mean, we're exactly the same on that.
Okay.
Because I want adventure, but I'm not. That's not. I'm not jumping out of planes. I'm not doing that stuff. But I do wanna. I do want to get out there, meet people everywhere I go, see the world, see how people are. So I like that type of adventure.
Then you're thinker or doer?
Doer.
Rivian, Tesla, or an old Ford truck?
Um, I'll go Rivian, old Ford truck, Teslas. I don't even know how to turn that on. I think you just walk close to it. It doesn't
I
hear you.
actually have to add a horse in here because we were interviewing a friend and I would choose a horse over any of those. So
Yeah. No, horse. Yeah,
okay,
horse.
I'm gonna add the horse to this. Sushi, steak, or salad?
Let's go. Let's go sushi. Like great sushi. I mean, yeah.
It's hard to beat. Morning bird or night owl?
Morning bird.
What
Easiest
time?
one.
What time is morning?
Whenever I get up, sometimes it's 3, sometimes it's 5:30. It's usually about 5:30.
That's
I like it.
impressive.
So
I
nice.
can't do it. I wake up at 3 and then I go back to sleep, and then I wake up at 4 and then I wake up at 5. So everyone's telling me like just get up at 3. I should just start
Mm,
getting up at 3, but
you could. We should do the 3 a.m. club, and we'll have a group text, and you can be like, "You up?" And then yeah, and keep each other company.
wait, we should 100% have a 3 a.m. club. That's amazing,
Yeah,
especially with founders because we can have a mini therapy session before we go into the day.
yeah, which we
Like
all need. So
positive like quotes.
we all need it. So yeah, positive memes, positive
Yeah.
quotes.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm 100% it. Spotify or Pandora?
Spotify.
Ninja or Warrior?
Warrior.
Introvert or extrovert?
Intro. This is the most extroverted thing I've done all year, and
I
it's
know.
already December, so
I'm so proud of you. Um,
thanks.
Snow or rain?
Snow.
Classical or rock?
Rock.
The known or into the unknown?
Into the unknown.
Good choice.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's like, I
fair
don't know
game.
what took me so long. I'm just like thinking like, is that even an option? Like the known part? No, go.
No one said the known, but I like to put it in there because I think it will be interesting.
Very
Um,
telling.
what are you the most optimistic about?
I'm optimistic that we that we're in control of what we're doing, even though it feels like a lot of times we're not. Whether it's work, whether it's personal, whether it's family, like we really are in control. And I'm optimistic that everything can be solved.
I love the birds in the background, like
Yeah.
validating
Oh yeah.
your
Wow. Yeah. Yeah.
your answer.
There's probably so many noises on this podcast, but I just like it out here. It is hot in Texas right now. It's like super hot, but like sticky hot. But I just love it out here.
I know every
And the
time
bird.
I talk to you, you're outside, but I love that because I can't really go outside where I am.
Yeah.
Where can our listeners support, follow you, website, Instagram, and then what two folks or friends you think would be a good guest on our podcast?
Mm. Well, the one thing that we're doing, so yeah, I mean, Goodpop, we have goodpops.com, but we have this thing called, uh, it's Pledge. So Pledge Good, this activation that we're doing is trying to get people to do good deeds. So if you go to goodpops.com/pledge, there's a drop down, you pick the good deed that you pledge to do, and then you pick a nonprofit of your choice, or I guess a type of nonprofit of your choice. And then you do the good deed on your own time, and regardless, Goodpop will donate $1 to that um, that nonprofit.
That's so
So I
awesome.
mean, it'd be awesome to do that. It's really fun, um, and everybody knows that like when you do something nice for somebody, like the first thing you want to do when someone does something nice for you is do something nice for someone else.